I found that many fans of JRPGs long for the so-called golden era of the 90s, and while I've enjoyed how the genre has evolved, there's still something to be said for the classic formula that popularized the genre originally. The original Bravely Default was able to capture a lot of the magic of the NES and SNES era Final Fantasy games, and it was met with mostly positive reviews from fans. As such, Bravely Default 2 has garnered quite a lot of attention in the JRPG community, as it's probably the closest thing we're going to get to these Golden Age RPGs. I've just finished up my time with the final demo that Square Enix released in the Nintendo eShop, and figured since the game is coming out on February 26, that this would be a great time to discuss it. Before we get into it, my name is the Ashen Dragoon, and here on this channel I love to discuss upcoming games and news, as well as do deep dive analysis videos on the games I love. If you like what you see here today, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon to get notified every time I upload. So as I mentioned before, the original Bravely Default sold over 1 million copies on the 3DS, which warranted a direct sequel, Bravely Second. That is not the game we are discussing today. We are discussing Bravely Default 2, which is a whole new world and cast of characters in the vein of Final Fantasy. This was the first way in which the series pays tribute to the golden era of JRPGs, and as a disclaimer, I have only played the final demo. At the time of this recording, I have not played the full game as it is not out yet, and my opinions are subject to change when the final game releases. The story of this game is based on the premise of 4 heroes of light and their journey to restore the crystals to their rightful place. Sound familiar yet? The journey takes place on the continent of Excellent, which is divided into 5 different kingdoms. In the demo, we get to see the desert oasis of Savalon, and what I immediately noticed was how much bigger the city felt than anything that was present in the original Bravely Default. It was also bigger than anything that I saw in Octopath Traveler, which by the way was made by the same development team. Looking at Savalon in the panoramic view gives some good perspective and really gives a sense of scale, sometimes not present even in the Golden Age classics. I love touches like these that modernize the game. What I've seen from the story so far has been pretty good, and even though we really only got a bite-sized, isolated portion of the story, I found it very interesting and I wanted to learn more about the lore of this world and more about the characters in general. It's been a while since I played the original, but I feel like what we have here is a step up from what we had previously, and that really excites me. To me, it just feels like a lot more attention to detail was put into smaller things like side characters. Prince Castor, for instance, was fascinating and he was so well crafted. While he seems to be a good person by all means, he still looks down on commoners and thinks less of Gloria, who's a princess, for traveling with the common folk. A lot of the time, side characters in JRPGs are one-dimensional, so that type of nuance is really appreciated. As for the main cast of Seth, Adele, Elvis, and Gloria, I think they are good enough as of now. I don't think we got to see the prologue in this demo, so it does feel like I'm missing some of the backstory. I think they interact fine and there's a good party dynamic, but I definitely hope to get to know them better in the full game. The combat system borrows heavily from the first game, and that's absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best turn-based systems ever created. It's a fairly traditional turn-based system with the twist of the Brave and Default mechanics. Brave lets you stack actions at the cost of Brave points to take multiple actions in one turn. If you go into negative BP, on your next turn you will not be able to act. Default works as a guard command. You guard reducing incoming damage, while also accumulating a Brave point which can be used on a future turn to avoid going negative. This system adds a metric ton of depth to the combat and really kills any discussion about turn-based games being boring. Bravely Default 2 also has a job system that is implemented in a similar fashion to Final Fantasy V. Each character can choose a class which performs different roles in battle, such as a monk, white mage, or a black mage. These classes level up through job points, which is a separate experience from normal EXP, and each of these classes gets their own unique actions and abilities. Each character can also have a secondary class, which allows the characters to use abilities from that secondary class. This makes for almost endless team combinations, and even though we weren't able to do much of that team building in this demo, it's something that I really look forward to in the main game. From what I can tell, the game will really make you use everything at your disposal. I almost got party wiped twice during the demo, and I was playing on normal difficulty. If there's one thing I'm sure of, is that the gameplay will be fantastic. The aesthetics of this game did raise up some controversy, and that's mostly due to the fact that Bravely Default 2 decided to go with a little more chibi of a style than the original. And it's either that or the fact that the chibi is more jarring due to the Nintendo Switch being much more powerful than the Nintendo 3DS. After I played the game a little more, I got used to it, but I do have to admit I was not a fan of it at first, and I still do think they could have done a better job. The hand-drawn environments, however, are top-notch, and it's become a staple of this IP. I also really liked the look of monsters, and I loved seeing their take or twist on classic RPG monsters. They also really nailed the world map. It fits in very well with the aesthetic of the game, and everything looks super sharp, and the map is rotatable in most sections. I really thought that was a good touch. The only thing I thought that was very or slightly disappointing is how a lot of the cutscenes, it just blurs the background and then kind of zooms in on the characters and shows a close-up of all of them talking on the screen together. I thought they would have maybe done more with the improved hardware on the Nintendo Switch, but at this point, it seems like this was a style decision by the devs. The music is great, and while it's not at a Final Fantasy level, it's pretty darn close. It retains the original game's soundtrack style, which I think is great. I like how they have paved their own way with new staples, like how the beginning of the battle theme and victory fanfare are the same as Bravely Default 1. This is similar to how old school Final Fantasy did things, and I really appreciate that touch. To be honest, I got about an hour and a half into this demo and I just put it down because I was too excited for the full release and I knew that I wanted to play it already. This game is a love letter to the classics while still acknowledging the flaws of those classics and seeking to improve them. From what I can tell, this game really has the potential to learn from the original as well as start building something really special with this franchise. Whether or not Square is able to execute still remains to be seen, but they seemed very receptive to the feedback they've received on the demos so far, which I think is a good sign. I, for one, am pumped to play this game upon full release. Are you guys also excited for this game? What was your favorite aspect of the demo, and what needed to be improved in your opinion, if you did get a chance to play it, that is? Let me know the answer to all those questions down in the comments below. Again, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon if you did enjoy this video. We're going to be covering Persona 5 Strikers, which is set to release just a couple of days before Bravely Default 2, and we're also going to be taking a look at Final Fantasy XIV and its rumored next expansion that's supposed to be announced on February 5th. So buckle up, guys. It's going to be a real exciting month of February, especially in the JRPG realm. And once again, thanks for stopping by.